What are we looking at here?
I was gonna say your tow winch, the whole mechanism and all the wiring and stuff, but that would be under here, right? Oh.
Well, there's more Moab. Yeah, the radiator had to be relocated, and then the winch for sure.
Okay, so I got half right.
Yeah, no, definitely the winch. Yeah, that's a lot of Moab I gotta pressure wash out of here. The radiator normally sits, like if you look at the Y right there.
Right, like right under here.
Radiator's right here.
Okay.
So that had to go somewhere.
Up
And
there.
I basically just started cutting the bumper higher and higher and higher. And then as I cut, I realized I needed to relocate the radiator, so that became the project. Once I got that moved, I had it zip tied in place, it was done. Then I figured out where my bumper was gonna be. And so I actually went and found the frame rails and went off of that with some 1/4 inch, 4.5 inch square tubing. And that came out, so that gave me kind of the line. And then I put a piece of 4 inch square tubing on the front, and that kind of defined the basics of what the bumper eventually became. And so to make it drivable, I put that big old skid plate. So that's 3/16 steel right there. And I was driving around with that, just the front bar and the skid plate for months.
Really?
Went on some adventures that way. Because I've never built a bumper. Like, this is project number one, so yeah, it was the whole thing.
How did you get the bumper to? Did you weld it together, or is it just?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's all welded.
Dude.
And yeah, the rock sliders were my first welding project that actually went on something. Like, I welded in shops and in classes and stuff, but I'm not a welder. I don't know how to drive off-road either.
Yeah. So was that your first time in Moab?
First time in Moab, first time using a winch. So I winched myself up this little hill. I got kind of stuck.
Yeah. Oh shoot.
And we had like a Cyber truck or two up top.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of people with us, so I could have just had them yank me out, but
Wanted to do it.
Tree right there.
Yeah.
So I
That's
pulled out some
badass.
gear, threw it on there, and winched myself up.
That's
like,
badass,
it
dude.
works. Johnny 5 is alive.
Did you put the tow winch on first, and then you were like, oh shoot, I need to move the radiator, or how was that thought process?
Yeah, I wanted to put the winch in. My idea was just that logically there's enough room in the frunk to put it, but I didn't really know how any of that would work. So I just started with the bumper, and as the bumper design evolved, the first thing was moving the radiator. That was obvious. So I moved that, and then built out the rest of the bumper. And then the next thing was like where's the winch gonna go physically? And so I figured out where that would go. So it actually bolts to the main bumper rail, and then the back feet bolt to the a new support member that I built. Man, there is Moab everywhere in there. A new member that I built that goes into the lower crash can structure. So it's kind of split up with the upper frame and the lower frame. And yeah, it's solid. We actually had to use it in Moab, and it worked well.
That's awesome. I'm surprised that for airflow, I guess it makes sense because you don't want stuff going in it, but I was thinking like you would maybe cut like a hole in here for the radiator to feed more air into.
I do plan to put a slit for ventilation in my skid plate, so I'll cut a horizontal slit there and then have that angle air up under the winch into the radiator.
Okay.
And I might even build a hood over the radiator or use one of the factory ones.
Would you be worried about debris getting from underneath?
Anything's possible, but I mean, we have radiators in the cars already, or heat exchangers.
Right.
So it's a factory part. If it gets damaged, it gets damaged. Off-roading is a different beast. So I was initially planning to just put the factory louver system here.
Oh, okay.
So it's got kind of that grill, and the flaps close when you're on the freeway for aero.
Right.
And then they open for supercharging.
That's cool.
I debated doing that, but like it would just get abused. Like this already took some hits.
I see that.
From like serious rocks, and I'm beating it up, and I plan to keep beating it up. I was just taking it one step at a time, but yeah, I do plan to add some more ventilation. I don't know if it'll be active. I don't think I'll be adding the fans back, so there's just not clearance, but I will probably build a wind box over there and ventilation for sure through the skid plate. But it's evolving. I mean, it's still pretty jank. Everything's still pretty raw. But I'm happy with it. I love this thing. It's a fun project, and it's doing everything I need it to so far.
It is a beast. Can I see the side rails for the door?
Yeah, the rock sliders. So this was my first fabrication project, mainly because it was so simple. It bolts straight to the pack, the battery pack on either side. So there's 7 or 8 bolts on the inside rail that bolt to my rock sliders. They're not perfect. They do have some give to them, but I can stand on them and bounce on them, and they've taken some hits, like you can see on the sides, and the bottoms are pretty scratched up. So they're doing their job, and they were clutch in Moab, which really just means I'm not high enough and these things are too low.
Do you plan on raising these then?
Yeah.
You're raising your car even more? Okay.
Well, the car is up.
I was gonna say it's high.
Maybe later. Yeah, this has the Mountain Pass Performance spacers and the Unplugged Performance coilover kit.
Okay.
And their springs and a bunch of their stuff. But these sliders just took away from the clearance, so my design was bad, which is not surprising given it's the first thing I built for the car. But basically I want to replace these with rock sliders and just pull these panels off and build around that structure so that I'm not losing ground clearance because these things are horrible. They're about 1.75 inches thick, and so they basically take about 2 inches off my ground clearance, which is not ideal. Not what you want to be doing. But they're functional, so at least they do that.
Can we take a look at the rear?
Yeah, pop inside. So yeah, the main reason I started building this thing out was because I loved road tripping, and I started sleeping in my Model 3, and as you know, so I had a Model 3 before.
Okay.
And as you know, I mean, you can do it, it's nice, but it can also be better, and so that was what I was looking for, was just like, how can I make this situation better? And so I initially built my own camper kit based on my buddy Jimmy, who runs Fruble. I reached out to him when he was still building his and figuring that out, and I built my own kit, and it was super functional. Like, it gives you a flat surface to sleep on, so there's a rear section from here to the back that fits behind your rear seats when they're up. So when I've got the kids in the car, I can leave this in, fold that up, take the middle section out, and my mattress, which is under here. And then when I want to go camping, all I have to do is put that middle section in, unfold the mattress or put the mattress in, and you're pretty much good to go on a road trip. So it makes it super easy. And what's cool about this thing is that the drawer locks in, and he designed it around an induction cooktop height. So it's, this is the light version of his camper kit. He's also got kind of a deeper one that you can store more stuff in, but this being designed around the induction cooktop lets you put a cooktop in here, store your food and some utensils and stuff, and still have access to your full rear trunk and your mid trunk. So my mid trunk is full of all kinds of electrical. Actually, my trunk underneath here are 2 Renogy 100 amp hour lithium batteries, and that's what helps power the cooktop and the winch. But you still have full access to this. I've got some recovery gear in here, camp chairs, straps, baby wipes, you know, all the essentials for camping.
All the essentials that you need.
Yeah.
So how do you power the external batteries?
Right, yeah, the external batteries, this is a fairly fresh system. I basically was just working night and day to get this thing running before Moab, which was just a week and a half ago. But basically these 200 amp hour batteries are powered from a 50 amp Renogy DC to DC charger. 50 amp seemed like a good number based on my research of what the Tesla power conversion system could put out. So the PCS, some people were pulling 2,000 watts with it. I felt like that was a lot, and 1,000 felt much safer. And so I opted for something that pulls just under 1,000 watts. This taps directly into the Tesla power conversion system under the rear seat. Yeah. That comes up to here through the DC charger, and that goes to a common power and a positive and negative bus, which both go to the batteries. So it provides power to the bus. The batteries are charged from that. The big output from this entire system is for the winch up front, which can pull a lot more power than this can even put out, but I think it'll handle this system can handle the majority of what that winch will ever be tasked with. So
awesome. That's
kind of what I was going for there. Yeah, I've got some recovery gear, done some off-roading. I'm definitely a beginner. I wouldn't even say not an expert. That's the stretch, but I've got it plumbed up with water.
Where's the basin for the water?
Yeah, so the water is pretty jank right now. This is very fresh, like yesterday. I've got a binder clip as my valve to shut it off.
Okay.
This Dometic faucet is really the magic in the whole thing. So it charges via USB.
Okay.
So you don't have to plug it into power. It's got a magnetic base. And so basically I've got it set up so where when this is extended, I've got a little more room, but it goes up to this little magnetic footprint here. Let me push the drawer in a little bit. And it just sits on that base, and I can just turn it on. So I can actually do that right now. So we turn that on like that, all high tech, and then you just push on it. And you've got water. So the binder clip is really just to make, it's like the backup.
Right.
So this doesn't get hit accidentally and I'm draining water into my trunk and battery system for hours while I'm driving home. That seems like a bad idea.
What's your water size that you carry with you?
In this one I've got, I think it's a 2.5 gallon tank. It's just between the front seats in the back. So it kind of wedges in that little nook right there.
Interesting. In the center console?
No, it's in the back.
In the back seats.
But in the back seats, there's a little kind of a nook in
right
between,
under the air vent.
Yeah, right behind the center console. So it sits right in there.
Smart. That's a smart use of space.
And I said jank because right now the lid is just off and the hose is in.
Oh, okay.
So to make it professional, I would just drill a hole and put the hose in. But I'll do it a little better for next time. This was just to get it up and running, and yeah, I made coffee with it this morning. My favorite addition, like if you just throw a portable power system in your trunk, is these hot water kettles. Like for me, the ability to just heat one kettle of water and you can make coffee, oatmeal, something warm in the morning without even having to be awake.
Right.
That to me is beautiful. So even just this setup is a huge improvement over anything else, but obviously having the full kit, it just makes so many more things possible.
What's the longest you've been camping in this?
I drove to Florida and back in my original setup with my original camper setup. This one I've only had for maybe 3 weeks. So Moab was the longest. But yeah, I did the 3-week trip to Florida and back. So I sprinted out to the East Coast in like 3 or 4 days, and then just took my time coming back along the Gulf, and I was sleeping in here every night. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, these cars being fully electric, there's just so much possibility. Like you can live out of these. Like the guy who designed the system lives out of his Model Y full time.
Wow.
Not with this system. He's got the bulkier one because he's got more stuff.
Right, the bigger one.
This system's great. I mean, for me being a larger guy, I'm 6'2". I love having the additional headroom. I love that I can just fold my mattress up and push it all the way to the front, all the way to the back. The middle section of this like has some storage in it, so I just shove my clothes in there. It's great. Like I can shove it all the way to the front. I can cook right here, shove it all the way to the back, get all my clothes and hygiene stuff, and it's just a really neat system. The other thing I'm powering with this 12-volt system is a fridge. So I've got a fridge behind my passenger seat.
Oh, I love the fridge.
We can pop over there and look at that.
There we go.
I guess we'll just see it right there. So I'm actually using that as part of my sleeping platform.
Okay.
The production version of this will have a full platform that'll extend the full distance. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for showing me. I love the Model Y.
That was awesome.